Hi everybody, this is Oksana and today I'm going to show you how to make this style of wire wrapped pendant. These are both little square pieces of dichroic glass, and this is the one that I'm going to be demonstrating on. And the other one is done in the same way, except that here on the side I use this weave where I have two base wires and then have a weaving wire. The pattern is 2 around both, 4 single ones around the bottom one, and that's what I did, and I used that all over the side here. But on this one, I have this big thick coiled coil going all the way around, and I have a video on how to make a coiled coil if you need that in more detail, because I'm kind of going to go through it quickly so that this video is not too long. So you get a little bit of a different look. You get a bigger pendant here with just kind of more metal to it versus something like this. So it's up to you what you do and how you go about this. And another thing is that these pendants use a square wire. So you see this wire here. This is a square copper wire. So it's a little bit of a different look. I actually just got it recently. I haven't used it in any of my videos before. So if you want to see how these pendants are made, then just keep watching. So I have some square 18 gauge dead soft solid copper wire here. This is my first tutorial using this kind of wire. I got it from Uncommon Supplies. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They're not the cheapest, but I was able to buy a smaller amount there, and I wanted to buy a smaller amount first to see if I like it. So this is my cabochon that I'm using. It's a dichroic glass square cabochon. And the first thing that I'm going to do to estimate how much wire I need is basically I want this wire to go around the back of it, but not the sides, just like the actual back. I don't want the back to be visible from the front, you know, so it needs to be smaller than the size of the cabochon. Just kind of like this. I'm just shaping it, like making a little frame like this. Now I'm putting these little pieces straight. So here's what I have so far. And this next portion is going to be what will end up being my bail. Sorry if my video quality is, or if the lighting rather is not as good. I'm not filming at home. I'm away from home, but I thought that I would try and film this tutorial. So see how I'm shaping this so that I can weave around it and it will be my bail. So I'm gonna kind of push these together. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna shape my bail, whatever, you know, size and stuff you want. So then I'm gonna separate these out, and I'm going to, the square wire can get a little twisted like mine just did, so just straightening that back out. So then my stone is gonna go like this. So this part will be the bail. I just cut my wire because this is long enough to go across the front. So there's basically like a frame in the back and a frame in the front, and the frames are what keeps the stone in place. We do have to connect them though. I'm untwisting my square wire here. It got twisted. So this will go around my stone. If you place it down, oh, you can still see, yay. If you place it down on the table or something like that, it'll be a little easier to shape your wire. Alright, so something like this. So before I do anything else, I'm going to weave my bail because it's going to be hard. You have to actually open these back up to be able to weave. So let me grab my 26 gauge dead soft round wire, copper wire from Monster Slayer. And you can just do whatever pattern you want for your weave. So I'm starting kind of back here, and I'm going to go all the way around. And the pattern that I'm going to do is one wrap around the bottom wire, a one wrap around the top wire, and two wraps. So that's one and two around both, and then just repeats one wrap around the bottom, one wrap around the top, so just like this, and I'm going to keep going until I get all the way around to right here where my bail is going to end. Alright, so I finished up my bail, and I went just a little further, like I didn't stop right here. I kept going even once the wire started to spread apart. I just think that looks a little better. There's not like a gap. And then I reshaped these wires to go around the stone because, you know, I had to kind of open them back up so it'd be easy to weave. So I'm not cutting my weaving wire. I'm just leaving that for now. And what I'm going to do is I am going to cut these longer wires here. So it's up to you how you do this portion. It could be a little different. Basically, we're just going to make little curls with these. So you can make them like kind of both down here together. You can make one in one spot and one in another spot, so they're like a little bit more spread apart. But we are going to curl these wires. I'm going to just take the stone out because it's not really secure in there anyways. So if you want to just like curl them and have them meet up next to each other, you can do that. Mine are going to cross. That's just what I decided to do this time around. But I'm taking just the very tip of my wire and curling it. And now I have to kind of cross it so that it's like this, and same thing here. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can cut them shorter and curl them again and just kind of see how it looks. So for me, let me grab my stone here. Kind of like this. So I think that I am going to bring them a little closer together. I am going to cut this one a little shorter and try to have it just kind of here towards the middle. So let's do that. So I think I like the look of this better. Them just kind of next to each other like that. Almost looks like a little heart shape or something. So here's what it would look like with the stone. But it's up to you. You could even have them completely cross and have this little curl be in one corner and the other one be all the way in the other corner too. That could be another way to do it. So for this weaving wire here, I'm just going to get myself a nice long length of it and cut it. I'm not going to weave a lot with it, so I don't need a whole ton, but I am going to do, you know, a few things to secure stuff, so I am leaving it. So here's what I'm going to do next. I have here a coiled coil, and I have a video on how to make this. It's a little bit time consuming, so that I'm not going to do it from scratch in this video, since I already have a video that kind of walks you through that portion. You don't have to do a coiled coil. You actually don't even have to do anything, because basically I'm going to be securing now these two wires, the back and the front frame, because once they're secured with the weaving wire and they don't move out of the way, then the cabochon will be locked in place. Right now it's not, because they can, you know, move back and forth and all that good stuff. And what I'm gonna actually do is put this on the side right here in between them for decoration. You can just do a single wire instead of a coiled coil. You can do just like 2 wires weaved together instead of a coiled coil. You can do a lot of different things, but this is just the way that I'm gonna go about it. So I'm gonna, I already kind of shaped this coil around to make sure that I had it long enough. And now I'm just putting it around my cabochon. It might be just a smidge short, but I had run out of wire. There's not like a good way to measure, unfortunately, how long, or I think there is a way, I just don't do it. There's all these like formulas you can do probably, but I like to eyeball everything, so I just start making the coiled coil. I did this one by hand. I didn't do this one on my coiling gizmo like I normally do. But it's a 20 gauge base wire, 26 gauge weaving wire wrapped around another 20 gauge all copper dead soft round wires, and then I wrap that around the base. So 26 coiled around 20, and then coiled around a 20 again. And then I took 24, and if you see it right there going in between the coils, I just coiled it that way too. So I probably had at least 10 inches of the 26 gauge coil. Like once I coiled that around my 20 gauge wire, that was probably at least 10 inches, maybe slightly more. But of course, it really varies what you need, because your cabochon will be different in size. So I don't have a good way, unfortunately, of having you measure it. If anybody knows if it's like, you know, 5 times the length of blah blah, then, you know, leave it below. I'm sure people will find it very helpful. I'm actually just gonna take it all out completely, and I'm gonna twist these wires like this. Now it will not open up. I'm gonna cut this just because this is a really long wire. Alright, now I need to get this back in here, get my stone back in there. Okay. Now you can see kind of where the coil ends, so it could have been longer. That probably would have been better, but like I said, I ran out of wire. I might put something else there to cover it up later. So what we're going to do now with our weaving wire is we're just going to secure all of this. So I'm taking my weaving wire, I'm bringing it back here, I'm putting it under this square wire frame, and then bringing it back to the front under the square wire frame again. Basically just putting it like around, oops, sorry, I moved my camera accidentally. Putting it around everything, so to speak, just to connect it all. And you want to like tighten it up nicely here. I'm going to do that again. This can be hard, trying to get it, there we go, through. You can use your pliers to help. Okay. There we connect it, bringing it to the back. And now here on the back, I'm going to wrap it around this frame here, this square wire frame that I had made, until I get to this corner here, so I can secure all of my frames, all my wires going around the stone again once I get to that corner. And this whole time your cabochon will be a little wobbly because everything is still very loose. So I'm just doing some loose wraps to get to the side. Now I'm going to put it through this frame, underneath the coiled coil, and underneath, there we go, the front frame, the front square frame. I'm just going to grab my pliers. Alright, so in here, I'm right at this corner. So I'm pulling it back, and I'm trying to get it to kind of just go in between the coils so it doesn't mess up the look of my little coils there. And then putting this through again. So here's another way to look at it, is looking the side. I have this square wire, I have the coiled coil, and this square wire. So I'm just wrapping around all of them. So it's up to you how many times you want to do it. I'm going to do it one more time just because I like the look of 3 wraps rather than 2. So see here from the front, when you see like the little wraps, I like the look of the 3 of them. Like that. Now I'm going to keep going down until I get to this corner here. So I'm going to wrap my 26 gauge wire around, I got a little twisted, around that square frame a little bit until I get down to this lower corner here. And now I am putting it through everything. So here is a little different because you've got these loops here. So what I want is, I want to get my wire in between the loops, just because this way they will kind of get locked in place together, like they're not going to be able to slide apart from each other. So that's what I'm going to try to do. But first I'm going to adjust them a little bit here, because see, like this big gap that has formed, I don't want that. This frame has kind of shifted a little bit. I want it to be on the edge of my cabochon, not larger than my cabochon. I don't want my cabochon popping through. Alright, so I'm going to secure that, and you can even put it like through, if you want to put it through the loop, one of these loops. The wire, you can do that as well. But basically just securing this. It ended up not being right in this lower corner. It ended up being right here on the side, just because that's where my little curls are. So then here in the back, I'm just wrapping around that frame again. And I kind of lift it up a little bit so I can get under it. And there we go. Till I get to that other corner. And then hopefully it'll start to stay in place, the cabochon. All right. So it's going under here. Let me see what it's looking like from the front. All right. Try to get that just a little higher so it's a little more symmetrical with the other side. So here then the frame ended up shifting a little bit. It's kind of hard to keep everything super centered, so just on the back the frame has shifted. Alright, so I've secured that and I'm just making my way up here, up this frame. So here I have these two little wires from the Coiled Coil, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap them around this frame here just to secure them in place. I'm just going to cut this little bit here. And pinch that down, and I'm going to do the same exact on the other side. So if you'll notice, because my coiled coil is not quite long enough, it got pulled, so there's this little gap here. And actually, let me get it closer this way, like that. And so because there's this gap here, I'm going to try and cover that up by wrapping this wire that I've been using this whole time. Instead of like the 3 times, I'm just going to try and do it a whole bunch of times around just this area here, just to try and cover it up somehow. Maybe you can put like a little bead on there or something. There's different ways to go about it if you happen to have a gap like I do. I'm going to try and lift this up a little bit because I cannot get my weaving wire in there. There we go. That's better. There we go. Oops. So I'm just going to do that, what I just did, just wrap around a bunch more times. Alright, so now I'm just wrapping this weaving wire a few times around this frame, the square wire frame that I had in the back here, just to finish it off, and then I'm going to trim it and I'm going to pinch it down with my pliers. But basically that's all that there is to it. You see this kind of square frame in the front with the 2 little curls. You got the bail. Here's the way this corner turned out for me. I think that got covered up nicely. Doesn't look obvious that my coiled coil ends too quickly, too abruptly there. And then here's the back. It's not the prettiest back you've ever seen, but it's not horrible. It doesn't have anything that can get caught on your clothes or anything like that. It's hard to shape the back, especially if you have a slippery cabochon, but that's it. That is this piece here. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.